Hi, my name is Gina and I have the incredibly unimportant problem of having way too many beautiful eyeshadows that I can't put on my face all at the same time. Today we are going to be doing a get ready with me. It's the morning, so that's why I'm a little sleepy looking and sounding and feeling. And I just have my two temporary palettes here in front of me, and I just have been really missing playing with all of my colors and stuff. So that's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be pretty chill. I'm just gonna talk about some of the stuff that's been on my mind lately, and yeah, that's what we're doing. I did already do my brows and primed my eyes just because I wanted some time to myself. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. I promised myself I would keep it relatively simple. We'll see how that goes. I've done a lot of looks lately that were just to film. I did a lot of the last week I didn't film at all because I was trying to work on my portfolio, and then the week before I did a lot of like multi-chrome stuff. So most of the time when I've been doing filming, if I've been doing it at all, it's been like really structured, really planned videos with like a specific design in mind for the channel, and it hasn't really been that kind of loose, freeform, creative thing that I like to do when I sit down to do makeup. So I really wanted to make time to do that. My eye is very much being drawn to my cool tone palette, and it's kind of bouncing around between a bunch of different colors. Like this is Iceberg from Clionadh. Then right next to it is Clairvoyance from Clionadh. I also have been kind of eyeing up Crystalline from Clionadh. All of these really gorgeous textured shimmers. Then also Ice Algae and Sublimate. Although I've used Sublimate somewhat recently, so I might forego that. I'm just kind of talking through my process here, like how do I want to go about approaching this. And honestly, I have to pee, so let me go do that first. At some point in this video, we will probably have like a jump just because I only have like 68% battery, and I will have to stop to charge at some point. So I'm gonna start with Thunderbird by Sydney Grace. This is that blue gray that I was like singing songs about in the swatch video I did with Amani. I'm probably going to do a half cut crease. That's a basic look for me. I'm going to take the Morphe M433 and just start working that in my outer corner and into the crease. Maybe. I think most people really enjoy filming Get Ready With Me's because it's basically like, you know, whenever you like hang out with a friend and do makeup together and you just kind of gab about, you know, your life and the things that you're interested in. I think that that's a lot of like why people like it. So I really enjoy it too, and I just haven't done it in a couple of months really, just because like I've had other things that I wanted to film, and my upload schedule is in some ways very purposefully limited in that I could film enough content to upload 5 days a week, but I know that I can't edit it that fast. I'm still working on that workflow, and I also just like I want to have extra stuff in case like what happens last week where I know that I'm not going to be able to film or edit or spend any time on it, in case that happens. So I've been keeping like this running list of topics that I want to talk about in Get Ready With Me's, and I'm gonna run through some of them, and it's gonna just kind of be like a random makeup feelings video. The first thing I wanted to talk about was ColourPop, just ColourPop in general, because I don't know, they've been making me a little cranky lately. So I wrote this down, and I had like these feelings, I guess, around the time that they released that rainbow palette. And I was actually like a little miffed about it because they, like, all of the marketing around it, ColourPop's marketing is like very smart in that they never like say explicitly like, yeah, we're releasing things that we've done before, but they're, you know, they skirt enough outside of it to not get into any trouble. And it's not like they would, but basically what had happened was that I started seeing this rainbow palette, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And immediately, as soon as I started reading like comments and stuff, it's like, this is re-released shades. And sorry, I'm going into a navy. This is Indiana Love by Sydney Grace. So yeah, like, I'm hearing about this ColourPop rainbow palette, and it's kind of exciting. And it looks like a build your own palette, like custom deal that they do. And I started like looking at it, and they were like, oh, these are all like re-released shades. And it wasn't ColourPop saying this, it was like commenters being like, hey, these are all re-released shades. And some of them are, so like some of them are from the monochromatic palettes, some of them were previously available as singles, but the ones from the monochromatic palettes aren't, you can't buy them as singles yet. And I was just like, okay. If there's like this casual consumer of ColourPop, right? And they're not me or, you know, any of the number of people in the makeup community who are super like attentive and they pay close attention. Like, if they're not any of those things, they might end up buying this thing that already has a bunch of stuff that has a bunch of stuff that they already have. This is Callie. And I just, to be honest, like, I felt like that was a little deceptive. I feel like they market it as like a new release, as a new launch, and it's not. It's just not. And oh wow, that didn't go the way I wanted it to. That was a poor brush choice. Like, props to whoever runs their marketing department, because they do a very good job, and like, that should not go, you know, unsaid. Like, that marketing is very effective and they're very good at it. There's like a whole cult around ColourPop. But for me, I just like, I was so cranky about it. And I hope, you know, I hope there aren't people in the world who got, you know, that rainbow collection who, you know, had also like collected all of the monochromatic palettes because they were really popular and really hyped. And I just hope that there aren't very many people in the world who were like, yeah, I'm gonna get both, and I'm gonna, you know, who said like, I'm gonna get this thing, and then like ended up being really disappointed because, you know, it's not new. Like, I think there were like 4 new shades in the whole thing. And it's like, I understand again, like, from a company standpoint, I understand the impetus to, you know, you come out with 4 new shades and you're like, okay, how are we gonna market this? How is this gonna work? And maybe you developed those 4 shades to make a rainbow palette with the other stuff that you come out with. I don't know. But I feel like there is a place and an important place in the marketing of that to say, like, this is to, I don't know, enhance your monochromatic palettes, or like, we mix them together so that you can, you know, have the new one. And the thing that gets me about it, and the thing that really bugs me about it, and I think the reason why I felt especially salty about it, was because it's a build your own palette like thing. Like, they're single shadows in a magnetic palette. It's a bundle, but you can't actually buy those single shadows as singles. You have to buy them in the palette, or in the bundle. And that is what gets me. like, that's the thing. Like, you have all of these people. You created this fervor around your monochromatic palettes, and you have people who are collecting them and who like want the whole, you know, set. And you're also releasing this rainbow palette that is ostensibly more or less a part of that, because you're mixing shades from the monochromatic palette in there, but like now it's a rainbow. There's overlap, but you can't get the new things on their own. So like these people who are collectors, like they can't complete the collection without having duplicates, and that just, I don't know, that just makes me angry. There's another aspect of it, and I don't want to talk for the whole get ready with me on this, so I will end on this note, but there's a part of the whole like beauty community, that aspect of it that makes me a little angry, and that like people give like Too Faced and Tarte and the Balm a really hard time for releasing the same things over and over, and yet when ColourPop literally releases the same things over and over again, there's like, everybody's like foaming at the mouth for it. I don't know. Again, I think the person who does ColourPop's marketing deserves a fucking award, because it is amazing. It's an amazing phenomenon to watch. Like, all of these people go crazy for stuff that's, I mean, honestly, it's above average. Like, it's fine. You guys know I really like the ColourPop Ultra Satin Lip. I don't know if I've said as much on camera, but I do like their matte eyeshadow formula. But I don't like it enough to pick up fucking Soul Body, even though I don't. It was really surprising to me that like they did the Soul Body thing, and all of these people who like are very fair and like very openly like not, they don't go to the beach, they don't go to the pool, they're, you know, shut-ins like me. They're like, oh, I want to have a glamoury body, like when I go out in the sun, when you never go out into the sun. And I'm just like, that's an amazing phenomenon to me. It really is. And like the folks that like, you know, are otherwise very skeptical about launches and releases, like going crazy for above average, nominally inexpensive things that are the same things that this company has released over and over and over again. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to me. And I'm not like angry at anybody for, you know, being a part of the ColourPop hype. That's not what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm angry at ColourPop for doing it. I mean, not angry, but like, how do it's something that I very actively don't want to participate in. I think that's the best way to put it. I'm so like numb to ColourPop at this point. So that's part A. Like, I'm very over it. But part B is like, as a sociological phenomenon, it's really interesting. This kind of bridges into the other thing that I've been thinking about lately, which is like the influencer, you know, sphere. And I think I've said to some people, I do not understand how the market can support this much makeup and this much eyeshadow. Like, holy mother of God. The amount of like makeup releases in the world has just shot up so much in the past, even just 10 years, right? And in some ways I think that's a really great thing. Now, let me pause and say some of that could be just my awareness of it as I like fall deeper and deeper down the makeup rabbit hole. But I'm very happy about that, right? Like, it's really cool to have all of these choices. And especially as like I in particular get into indie beauty, like all of the different nuances and stuff, like it's really cool, and I'm not at all complaining about it. But I'm very surprised that it's been able to be sustained as long as it has been, to the point where it's like influencers are coming out with their own makeup brands and they're doing well, and you know, celebrities continue to launch makeup lines and they do well. It's amazing. Like, it really is. But at the same time, I like in my day-to-day life, like when I'm working, I'm the only person that I know who wears makeup like this on a regular basis, or makeup at all on a regular basis. most of the women that I interact with in the world have like a basic put together face, and they don't mess with makeup. Like that was my grandmother's experience with makeup too, even though she had quite a bit. Like you have like your face that you put on, right? And it generally includes like some kind of skin product, concealer, and generally eyeliner, and maybe a neutral eyeshadow palette, right? And so like I'm like shocked that influencers keep growing and that like companies can keep releasing eyeshadow palettes, and I'm not sad about it, but I'm in some ways a little confused. Sorry, my cut crease is not even, and it's bugging me. And so that's a very long prelude to say that I've been thinking, like, I wonder how much of makeup marketing is marketed directly to influencers. And I wonder in the influencer community how much of us are just influencing each other. And I just wonder. I wonder in makeup marketing how much of it is like we're gonna market directly to influencers and they're going to, you know, have an impact on the audience, but we're not actually gonna market directly to our demographic. We're gonna market to the influencers. And I think that's interesting. And I think it's an interesting thought. And I think it explains to a certain extent why some releases like from Tarte, from The Balm, from Urban Decay really confuse and vex us, because I think those companies are still marketing towards like the general demographic that they aim for and not to influencers. And I think that if you want to talk about like makeup trends and being trendy, I'm gonna shift the camera a little bit. I think to a certain extent, people who make makeup content of some kind, whether it's you post your stuff on Instagram or you make YouTube videos or whatever, I think that we're the only people who care about that. I don't know. Like none of this is like set in stone. I'm not saying like this is the way that it is, but it's something that I've been just thinking about. And the idea of influencers as a market unto ourselves, I do think that there is a lot of merit to that. And I do think that that's something that people who make makeup content really need to be aware of. That we are being marketed to as a demographic unto ourselves. And that changes and impacts what gets made. I'm going to take Crystalline from Clionadh Cosmetics. Really pick it up. It's it's got a more oily texture. So yeah, I don't know. I just, something I've been thinking a lot about recently. I think I've used this shadow before. I think in the pastel look that I did, I think I used this because it's really fucking pretty. Well, I'll try and add something else to the mix. I'll put in a teal. And so I do think that explains also some of ColourPop and how ColourPop works. Don't get me wrong, I think ColourPop has an appeal to the market in general, but I think that's largely through people like Kathleen Lights, and it's through like their neutrals stuff. I don't think that Kathleen Lights picked up any of like the monochromatic collection, at least as far as I know. I was talking with one of my makeup friends, Julia, and she sent me like a supposedly leaked ColourPop and Kathleen Lights collab, which is like this pseudo rainbow palette, and I'm like, that's fake. Like there's no way that that's true. And I'm like going on camera saying this because this video will probably, so the launch date is supposed to be September 6th, and so this video will almost certainly go up after that launch date, and so we will find, you will know upon watching this video whether or not I was right. Pretty sure that I'm right, but I'm so confident in this that I'm like stating it for the world right now. Iceberg from Clionadh. Where was I going with this? This is very similar then to the pastel look I did the other day. I This is like what happens when I don't do like this kind of look back to back, is that I lose track of what I've done. It's gonna be very similar, and I'm sorry. I'm gonna grab a more vibrant purple. This is Skylights, and I'm pretty sure I haven't used this one yet. This is gonna go in the corner here, which is really not the traditional eyeshadow placement, but we're gonna do it. I don't know what I was saying. I'm sorry, I lost track. This picked up really well. I kind of dug into it in my typical fashion, and I really didn't need to. Oh, this is not what I was going to say, but it reminds me of something that I was thinking. I was talking with said makeup friend, Julia, and she was talking about how like Juvia's Place shadows hard panned on her, and I was like, I have literally never had that problem. And she's talking about how they were sheer and needed to be built up. And I was like, do we have the same eyeshadow palettes? Because like, this is not my experience with Juvia's Place at all. And going into that eyeshadow that way kind of reminded me that I got a bunch of Juvia's Place palettes like at once. I do remember like I started using a completely different brush that I hadn't really used before. And that's this Zoeva brush. This is a 234 Luxe Smoky Shader. And I remember picking up this brush and using it a lot more because the shimmers were really difficult to pick up and I had to like take it and dig into it. And like doing that just now, even though I didn't need to, reminds me a lot of that, and like how the eyeshadow that we own influences how we work with eyeshadow. And whoa, yeah, I picked up I put my glasses back on and looked at the palette, and there's like a ton of like fallout in the pan. I'm taking that same color with like a smaller brush, and I'm just gonna get into the space of the crease a bit more. How the eyeshadows we own influence our perception of what an eyeshadow should be and how an eyeshadow should work. And I think that's very true of Juvia's Place, and why, at least for some of us, when like these softer formulas came out, we were like, what the hell is this? I think that it's fascinating, and I think that it really pushes, I think, against the idea that there is such thing as a good eyeshadow or a bad eyeshadow. It is eyeshadow that suits your preferences and your style or doesn't. And when you go to like say like this is good or this is bad, I think that's something that you have to remember, and why I think a lot of influencers shy away from really definitive statements like that. And that's something that I've noticed more and more recently, and I actually think that's a really good thing. This is, oh gosh, When the Stars Align from Touch of Glam. I'm struggled because the back is almost entirely obscured by Rogue eyeshadow. I'm just gonna get a bit of blue shimmer right before we go into the matte. And I think a lot of people, they see that as a reason to distrust people who do reviews. I never have, and I think like in a very conscious way I've always been kind of aware of that. And when I started doing videos, I was like, I don't want to review eyeshadow. Instead of like saying I like this or I don't, I want to say like this is how you get the best use out of it. And I still may do that and try to do that, but it's much easier to say like I like it or I don't like it. Anyway, that's not the point of what I'm talking about. I think that people see that and like they end up not trusting influencers, when really I think that is a sign of someone who is more experienced, because the reality is that there are infinite ways to formulate eyeshadow, and there are infinite ways to formulate like literally anything having to do with makeup. And the part of the reason for that, and part of the reason why there's not just one way to do it, is that everybody's got different preferences, and everybody's got like different ways they want to approach their eyeshadow. Not everybody wants like punch you in the face color and intensity like people, like some people really like and need more sheer and more buildable formulas. And that's okay. I talked a bit about this in the still unfinished Morphe 35M 10 looks 1 palette / review, is that like for some people, like that's great. For some people, sorry, I'm grabbing my mirror. Like the sheer formula of Morphe is exactly what they want. And the blending groups, I talk about this too, like the blending groups of color is exactly what they want and what they need. They don't want to have to work to blend an orange and a blue together. They want the shade in the middle too, and that's great. So like, you know, I see a lot of people saying like, you know, someone shills Morphe or what have you, but at the end of the day, like, that's not really it. It's just that there are different strokes for different folks, as it were. So that leads into like the next thing that I want to talk about. I haven't filmed a Get Ready With Me in a long time, and I have lots of like random like makeup feelings that I've been wanting to kind of talk about. I've been interacting in Hannah Louise Poston's comment section a little bit, not a lot, enough to like catch every once in a while someone who's just like cranky. And I've been interacting on Angela Mary Tanner's, you know, Instagram a bit too. And there are so many people who are like angry about makeup. And I can't say that I really understand that. So like, I just went on like this huge rant about ColourPop, right? And so I'm sure you're probably saying like, Gina, you just literally said you were angry at ColourPop. Like, what's wrong with you? And I tried to like be clear. I'm not angry about it. Like, I don't like spend my nights like plotting ColourPop revenge. And I don't like, it takes a lot for me to like not buy from someone or something. But it seems like a lot of people are like looking for reasons to be angry, and they come at so much of the like the beauty space with this like inherent suspicion. And so like, I'm a very skeptical person, right? Like I end my videos, you know, talking about thinking critically, and you know, I'm going to be building content around like that ethos. I think that being a critical thinker, I think that being a smart consumer is really important. But there's this sense of like fault and blame and presumption of malice that is entirely unwarranted, and I don't understand where it comes from. To be honest, I find it really toxic. And even like Angelica Nyqvist, I was in her comments on one of her Instagram posts about something. It might have been Clionadh. I don't know, people have weird feelings about Clionadh, and I don't understand. But I think it was about Clionadh, and she like posted the stained glass collection and how much she really liked it. And they're like, this smells like a sponsored post. Hannah started making content that's more of like the traditional beauty YouTuber content, you know, and still trying to frame it around like being a responsible and ethical consumer. And like, I made the mistake of like going into Reddit like beauty guru chatter on a thread on like Hannah Louise Poston, and just like, gosh, like, people need to get fucking lives. I don't understand why people spend so much time and energy like justifying why they don't like somebody. And it's like, if somebody makes you legitimately angry, why would you spend time talking about them? Why would you spend time like dwelling on it? Like there are a couple of smaller YouTubers here that I was following for a while, and just after a while their content started to rub me the wrong way, and so I just like unsubscribed and moved on with my life. It's really that easy. And I just like, I ended up commenting, I think, on one of Hannah Louise's videos of like this person who was like, you know, boo, I'll watch the rest of your content, but this is exactly what I come to YouTube to avoid. I think it was like a first impressions. And I was just like, okay. So this video comes up in your feed and you saw it. It's clearly labeled first impressions, both in the thumbnail and in the title. You opened it, maybe watched some of it, and then wrote a comment. Like, if it's true that you like avoid that kind of content on YouTube, it seems so much simpler to just not watch it. And if you don't trust a YouTuber, or if you don't trust a company, or if you don't like Jaclyn Hill, it seems like a much more productive use of your time to just not engage with any of those things, right? Like I don't understand and I don't get it, and I feel like, especially for like, I guess, drama channels and people who like enjoy drama channels, there's like this huge investment of like time and energy into like proving that like someone is wrong, or like someone that is untrustworthy. And like, don't get me wrong, if someone's like running a legitimate scam, okay, like people should know that. But at the end of the day, it's like, so here's the worst case scenario. If, for example, sorry Hannah, if you're watching this, I'm going to use you as an example, but if Hannah Louise Poston is lying about everything that she gets, she's getting sponsorships from companies and raking in the dough to tell people about fucking Rowan eyeshadows. The worst case scenario is that someone spends, $50 on eyeshadow they don't like. The world moves on. If you have $50 to blow on 8 eyeshadows, like, you're gonna be fine. Like, it's fine. And it reminds me of in Community when, I don't remember what was happening, but Britta goes, the stakes really aren't that high, but that just makes it even higher. Like, that's what it's like. And I just, like, I don't understand. And I guess, to kind of take a step back from my, like, bemusement from it, I've been thinking a lot about, like, the social aspect of makeup and how that feeds, like, the social aspect of makeup and, like, talking with people about makeup is a lot of, like, what feeds, like, what we would call, I guess, makeup addiction and makeup buying addiction, and, like, buying all of these new things. And people can get into some serious trouble with that. I'm gonna use my new discovery. Sorry, I realize I'm not finished with my thought yet, but we'll get back to it. I just edited the video last night where I tried this the first time, and I'm like watching it on camera, and I was like, this is not going as well as I thought it was at the time. So I'm gonna give it another try with a full coverage foundation. This is a little light for me, just warning you. There is a social aspect to makeup, and that feeds, like, the, addiction that some people get into, and that probably also feeds a lot of this, like, weirdness, right? Or at least what I perceive as weirdness around, like, people liking or not liking a person and then, like, making up shit to justify it. I just, like, had a revelation. Boy, this is a rambly get ready with me. I hope that you're excited for those things. I think that I can't say for everyone, but for me, I really struggle to admit when I don't like somebody, because I feel like I have to have a good reason. I feel like if I just don't like them, then, like, I'm mean, or like, I feel like you have to have a good reason to not like somebody. And one of the, like, important things I've realized as an adult is, like, that's not true. You can just not like somebody. But I think, like, somebody can just, like, not be to your taste, right? Like, you don't have to be a bad person. They don't have to be a bad person to be a bad person for you. And that's true of, like, relationships and, like, whatever. And so I wonder how much of, like, this phenomenon of, like, trying to find and, like, read into, like, someone doing something wrong when there's just, like, there's no good reason to, like, assume malice is part of that phenomenon. which is like, I don't like this person and I feel like I have to have a reason. And I think that's, I mean, to be honest, I think that that's a thing that women struggle with. I think that we are socialized to be nice and to like people and to be, you know, generous and all of that stuff. And if we just don't like somebody, like we're catty, and like people think that guys get along much better than they actually do. And I don't know, there's, you know, there's lots of like sociological stuff to talk about there, but maybe that's it. Maybe just like these people just don't like X or Y, and it's really hard for them to like own that. And this is actually coming around to the point that I was going to make, which is like people I think in general really struggle to take ownership of their own stuff. They try to take something that is entirely about them, and instead of like owning that and it being just about them and like them kind of making peace with that, people kind of need it to be like an objective thing that's wrong. I think it's really easy to like come up with, you know, conspiracy theories and, you know, presume malice, because it can't just be that you don't like it. It can't just be that you don't like that kind of content. Someone else has to be at fault. And I know that I'm kind of coming off in a kind of like holier than thou, like judgmental way. And I want to like be clear that like, I think that this is a thing that a lot of people struggle with, and it is a human failing. And, you know, like I mentioned, something that I have struggled with in some aspects as well. Like, me not liking someone is about me. It's about the kinds of things that I like and the kinds of things that I look for in companionship. It's not about that person. That person is doing their thing, right? And it's fine. And they can do their thing and I can do my thing, and we can not talk and we'll both be happier for it. And that's okay. Like, yeah, you should know how to like comport with people that you don't like and, you know, be civil and all that good stuff, but we don't have to be besties. I don't have to like you, and I don't have to say that I like you, because I probably don't. I don't like most people, to be perfectly honest. That's just kind of who I am. Let me put on my glasses and check out the situation. Oh, this is why when I said, yeah, no, this is more of a pain than it needs to be. Let me, I'm gonna go wet a sponge. I'll be right back. But yeah, like, that's kind of like what I'm trying to get at, is that like, I don't understand why people get so mad. I really don't. And I think possibly part of people getting mad is that struggle to understand that, like, struggle to take ownership of one's own preferences, one's own desires, and one's own like priorities for one's life. And I don't necessarily mean take ownership of the bad things. Like, I'm trying to think of something good. I prefer really pigmented, soft, matte eyeshadows, right? That is my preference. That is about me. That doesn't mean that anything that's not a soft, pigmented, matte eyeshadow is objectively bad, or that someone did a bad job in making it. That's just something that doesn't suit my preference. I think that's hard. I think it's hard to take kind of ownership of anything that's just about you. I think that almost dropped into my pants again. I think that it's much easier and safer to kind of want to indulge in like a more objective reality than exists. And it's just not the case. It's just not a thing that, you know, you don't have to be a complete like moral or ethical relativist to realize that like some people just have preferences. And to like roll back to like beauty creators and like people, you know, kind of accusing them of being sponsored, A, calm the hell down, and B, if it's your preference to watch quote unquote real people do, you know, buy makeup and talk about makeup, etc., why not like take a second to write down like what that means to you? Like, what does it mean for a content creator to be relatable to you? And like, what are your priorities for engaging in that content? And then when someone stops making content that works in that and stops like having like a personality or a disposition that you like, just unsubscribe and be like this isn't my preference anymore. I feel like that's a much more like productive way to go about it than to try and like be angry with someone for not making something that you like. Because at the end of the day, that's what a lot of this boils down to. It's like people being angry at other people for making something that they don't like. And when you put it that way, I hope that it sounds silly. Because it is silly. And not silly in the sense of like, you know, how dare you be mean to people, but it's silly for you. You can have a much happier life, and you can be happier if like you don't kind of spend so much time dwelling on how other people don't match up to what you want. And instead just kind of be like, you know what, this person is not for me. This company is not for me. This product is not for me. And that's okay. Because it is okay. It's okay for you, and it's okay for them. And it's okay if you don't understand why someone would like it. So just, I don't know, I'm gonna kind of close here before I like, you know, take a second. I'll finish my face makeup and charge my battery a bit. But what I'm talking about here is as much about like the health and wellness of the person who is angry as it is about the person who's on the receiving end of that anger. And that like, hey, the person on the receiving end of that anger like doesn't deserve it, doesn't need it, etc. But it's also just for the person who is angry. I'm not trying to tell you that your feelings aren't valid, because they are, but I would challenge those people to think about things in maybe a different way, in that like what this person does is okay, what I do is okay, and what I want is okay. They're just not compatible anymore. So I'm just gonna unfollow. I don't need to feel so invested in proving that they have somehow become corrupt if they just don't make things that I like anymore. And that's okay. It's totally okay that someone makes stuff that you don't like. My cat would like attention. I'm gonna go and powder my face, get all of the stuff done, and then hopefully when I come back I'll have enough juice to finish at least the rest of my eye makeup, and we will wrap up this get ready with me. Okay, so I'm back. I don't have a lot of battery left, but I also like, I don't want to just kind of be sitting here waiting for my battery to charge, so I'm just gonna push forward. If everything kind of cuts out and then we're suddenly looking at the final look, that's what happened. My battery died. I need to get another one, but we're doing what we can today. So I actually, I want to play with a pigment. Yeah, I'm gonna pick this. This is Sigil question mark. It's a name that I couldn't find, probably because it was out of stock when I did my labeling. It's just gonna give a little bit of texture and dimension. It's not gonna be like working the whole look. But I just kind of felt like these, I really like these Clionadh shadows. They're gorgeous, but I have been really into things with a bit more texture lately. And I think like in combination with like laying on the base and stuff, they end up kind of being more smooth than I might prefer at the moment. But I did want like a little bit extra. Okay, so I've done my whole face, and now we can do the lower lash, which I think is gonna be green. I think it's gotta be green. I think the greens have been calling me for long enough. So yeah, this is Megalodon from Sydney Grace, and I don't think I've used this yet, which is a crime. So I'm going to grab a pencil brush. Actually, I'm going to take a step back here for a second. I'm going to grab like this guy. This is a Morphe E18, and I'm going to go into a matte. This is Ice Algae from Clionadh, and it probably didn't look like a matte when I showed it to you because it's got this sheen to it, but that is, it typically doesn't come off on the eye when you put it on. And I'm gonna load that up on my brush, and just by way of like making sure that I have something to blend out that shimmer, I'm gonna tap it down here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and keep doing my thing where I've been talking, and if it cuts out, I will do my best to kind of finish the thought that I had, and like in a voiceover in some way, and then go ahead and show you the final look. Woo, this is fucking great. Look at that. Wow. So yeah, I just kind of what I was saying earlier was your energy is better spent on constructive things. And you know, if you feel like someone is a danger to someone else, like if for whatever reason, like if you want to spend your time like outing influencers who promote diet teas and shit like that, like, you know what, like, go for it. I think that's understandable. That's, you know, could hurt somebody. But if you want to spend your time like being angry with someone for making a different kind of content than you like, or, you know, promoting a product that you don't like, I feel like you'd have a much happier life if you diverted that energy to something a little bit more productive. Okay, so I'm back. This is the final look. I'll take off my glasses so that you can kind of see what is up while I'm talking. I turned on my camera and it said 20% and then like immediately went down to 19, so I don't know how much time I have. I used Ice Algae and Megalodon on my lower lash line with that bright pink from Clionadh. I'll put the name down here, and Blue Mist in my inner corner. The liners and stuff are mostly black. I did mix 2 Suva Beauty Hydra liners to get the purple on my lash line. Pretty standard stuff for the rest of everything. I didn't get to really talk about everything that I wanted to, but there will be subsequent Get Ready With Me's going forward, and I'm in some ways kind of glad that my battery died, because I had started talking about something that I realized I'm not ready to talk about yet, just because I don't have the way to articulate it that doesn't piss a bunch of people off. So, not that I probably didn't already do that in this video. Anyway, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I do actually really enjoy doing my makeup on camera and just kind of talking about what's on my mind. It's very like cathartic. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, let me know what you thought about literally anything that I talked about. I'm certainly excited to discuss, and a lot of it is stuff that I haven't really talked about with anybody else, so you guys get the first pass. If you liked me and my flowing red hair, please do subscribe to the channel. I upload on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, at least for the foreseeable future. You can find me on the internet at Faces by Gina. I have an Instagram and a Facebook where I upload stuff every single day. I hope that you're having a great day no matter where you are, and please do think critically and deeply about the world around you, engage with it, grip it, and be good to yourself and be good to other people as well. I'll see you out there on the internet. Bye.